I was particularly excited to start talking about the supply chain because I think it's one of those topics and conversations that doesn't often happen as often as it probably should. And I mean, obviously, I think April and Greg, you know better than anybody, this is a tricky industry, and there's a lot sort of demanding our attention at any time, right? But the quality and supply of raw materials is one that I think sometimes gets a little bit of short shrift. So I'm really excited to discuss with you guys supply availability, quality, and how you guys are working with your supplier partners today, and just get a general sense as well of what the maturity is out there in terms of what we have to work with. So, kickstarting this, we often hear broad claims, right? That the supply chain for mRNA therapeutics is getting better and better every day and bigger, and there are more suppliers. But I'd really like to dig into what that means, right? Especially depending on the modality that you're working with. And so, Greg, I'd really like to start with you. You've emphasized that you're seeing some more growth and maturity in the supply chain, particularly as it relates to linear mRNA, right? Linear mRNA products. Where specifically have you seen some of the most meaningful growth in the supply chain over the past year or two as it relates to your drug substance, mRNA, and drug product, right, with the LNPs?
Sure, Rose, and great question. Of course, I would say maybe the last 3 or 4 years, because really COVID vaccine was an inflection point for the industry. We have to be honest, right? We really needed to scale that, and what Moderna and Pfizer with BioNTech have done has really been incredible. So naturally, scale, right, and by scale, I don't just mean the scale at which each batch is being produced, but also the number of vendors across all of these classes. I'm sure we're going to dig into enzymes, nucleotides, lipids, all of everything that goes into it. But certainly the number of options out there has grown a lot, and those who were already in the game or are new to the game are producing things at scales that are really meaningful to go commercial. And then the second, and this goes hand in hand with the quality comment, is also the grade of material. So,
Okay.
we'll probably dig more into this, right? Where are you drawing that GMP line in terms of actual GMP synthesis? For many of the materials, the source of the materials, is it animal origin free, et cetera? What level of characterization? I'm sure we'll dive more into all of those. I don't want to go too much on question one, but scale and grade, I would say, are the two primary things.
Okay. Okay, so we're seeing a wider swath of suppliers from which to choose from, and we can also, start seeing a bit more growth towards that GMP produced, right, product or supplies. But we're still, you're right, this is a question we're going to dig into a little bit more later in the discussion. And I think too, this does tie in nicely though into sort of a follow-up that I have. We often talk about supplier availability, the ability to get the materials that we want when we need them, right, at an affordable rate and at the right amount that we need. But I'm also, we can't just talk about things from a capacity standpoint. I think capability is another really big piece of this equation, making sure that the partners we're working with are also knowledgeable about the supplies, right, that they are, and their supply chain and the quality of the materials that they are providing. Because I think that there can also be a lot of variability still in that. I'm really curious, how would you characterize today sort of the supplier capability out there in the world, right? We've got a lot more to choose from. Are you finding that it's pretty consistent, or are we kind of across the board?
No, it's a great follow-up. And of course, I think it does depend and it does vary. If I can make a kind of general comment, I think the industry has definitely gotten better at understanding the materials themselves.
Yes.
For sure, how they source their raw materials, how they manufacture theirs, the quality attributes of those materials, and those materials meaning plasmid DNA, enzymes, lipids, where I think there's still gaps, and I think we continue to learn. And why often I use the term partnership rather than transactional vendors is the impact of those materials on our products and our processes as the consumer of those materials. And that's where really more of the impetus is on the sponsor, is on the mRNA producer, really working with, working with the vendors. Just a very, simple example, right? A lot of us use polymerases or other enzymes, and anytime you source an enzymes or buy an enzyme, it comes with some activity level.
Yep.
How meaningful is that activity level to the actual performance in your process, and what is the right level? So of course there's a lot to that question, and it
Yeah.
really requires working together with your vendor on that,
Yeah.
finding. So
Yeah, absolutely.